tomorrow's test, absolute value equations. Inequalities. Inequality equations, solving inequalities. What is the main thing I have to remember when solving inequalities? Yes, sir.
Less than is and greater than is or.
Well, not absolute value, just solving inequalities. Just normal inequalities. So take for instance 3x is less than 5 or 4x is greater than 2. What's the thing that we need to remember when we're solving inequalities? Yes, sir.
The signs.
What signs?
The inequality signs.
And what about it?
I don't know.
Anybody? What do we need to remember when solving inequalities?
That if we multiply or divide by a negative, we have to switch the sign.
There we go. If we multiply or divide by a negative, we have to change the inequality signs. Everything else is like normal. All our solving equations is like normal. So if we have three times x plus 5 minus 2x plus 3 is less than 5x minus 4, we're going to solve like normal. First thing we're going to do is do what?
Distribute.
Distribute. Next thing we're going to do what?
Combine like terms.
Add like terms. Next thing we're going to do what?
Get our x's together.
Okay? I'm just going to do it on this side, just go this way, just for sake of review here. So I take the 5x over this side, and I make that.
Negative 6x.
Look again.
Negative 5.
4x.
Negative 4x. I take the 18 to this side, that's going to make that
Negative 22.
negative 22. And then we're going to do what?
Divide by negative 4.
Divide by negative 4. And you can do this just so you see that. When I divide by negative 4, what happens to the inequality sign?
Switch it.
We switch it. And negative 22 divided by negative 4.
22 fourths.
Alright, simplify.
Oh, 11 halves.
11 halves. Okay? Now we're going to draw a number line. All I need is one number. And what's going to be above 11 halves?
Open circle.
An open circle. And which direction will I draw my arrow?
To the
Right.
To the right. So 11 halves, or x is greater than 11 halves. Okay? So that's pretty straightforward. We also talked about compound inequalities, so ands and ors. So take for instance, if we had this answer here, x is greater than 5 and x is negative 2. We have to make sure that we're careful of how we write our answer. So we might want to use a number line in a graph, even though it doesn't say to use one. Negative 2, greater than negative 2, and greater than 5. Is there a simpler way to write this that will give me the answer that I need?
All number.
No, because what does it say? And. So and means what must be true?
What's similar?
Okay, but both equation has to be true, correct? If it's and. So what numbers will make both of them true?
All numbers in between.
All numbers in between what?
Negative 2 and 6.
Negative 2 and 6? Alright, does negative 3 make them both true? I'm sorry, not negative 3. Negative 1 make them both true.
Oh, it's any number greater than 5. 5 or greater.
Right? Hold on before I get to you. Yeah. Does negative 1 make them both true?
No.
No. So it can't be negative 1. Alright? Does 4 make them both true?
No.
So it can't be the numbers below 5,
It has to be 6 because it's not greater than or equal to.
okay? So as you're saying, it has to be numbers
5 or greater.
5 or greater. Or here. So in this case, when we look at this, I see my answer, it's going to be the numbers that are greater than 5. Now I can't say 6 because I missed out on the numbers between 5 and 6. I missed 5 and a half. I missed 5 3/4. Alright, so I have to include those numbers. So that's why we just say greater than 5, because I know 5 is not included, but everything else is. Alright, if I have this, x is less than -2 or x is greater than 5. So when I look at this, here's my -2, and I'm less than, and here's my -5, and I'm greater than. Alright? Or means what?
One or the other.
One or the other. And usually the word that I use to have or, I said was what? What numbers do I need to include here for or?
All real numbers.
Alright, the word I used was everything, correct? So everything here would be everything that is greater than -5, everything that is less than -2, which, what is a simpler way to write that besides what I have?
All real numbers.
All real numbers. So I want to make sure that I look at my graph to see if there's a simpler way to write it. If I had something like this, and it was an or, what's the simplest way to write this?
That, or,
I really wrote that wrong, I get them backwards. Need to make sure I put it in chronological order here. Alright? Would be x is less than 2 or x is greater than 3. If this was an and, what would be the simplest way to write that?
No solution.
No solution, because there's nothing in common. So be careful when you get these compound sentences, compound inequalities, to make sure you write the answer as simple as possible. Okay? So take for instance you had this here, and you said x was greater than 3 and less than 2, and you wrote it that way. That would be fine, although it's not the correct answer, because there's really no solution. But I would still give you partial credit for not doing the work correctly, but not getting the correct answer. So make sure you write everything down.
So the answer for that would be no solution.
If it's an and, no solution, correct. Absolute value. When do I know it's an or?
Greater than?
Greater than. When do I know it's an and?
Less than?
Less than. So make sure that you are understanding, am I talking about an or am I talking about an and? Make sure it's an absolute value equation or inequality. We're writing the equation down twice, because we should have two answers. Then if it's an equality, I'm going to make sure I check my answer. All right, make sure I check my answer when we're doing that. And we'll look at some, running out of time, so I want to make sure I get to 2, 1, and 2, 2 before we go further. All right, relations and functions. A relation is any set of
Numbers.
what kind of numbers?
X and Y.
All right,
Domain
they would
and range.
turn into x and y's.
Domain and range.
They are domain and range.
Y
Subset?
equals KX.
That's-
That's not numbers,
What was the
it is the
question?
equations.
a relation is always a set of what type of numbers?
All real
Real.
numbers.
Integers.
Positive.
Input
Oh.
Input values.
and output.
Oh.
All right, input values and output values. Input values are my domain. Output values are my
Range.
range. Input values are what type of variable?
X.
Is that X. The output variables, the output variable is my
Y.
Y. Alright, the X variable is called my
Independent.
independent variable because it doesn't depend on anything else. We pick that. My Y value is my
Dependent.
dependent variable. Alright, so X is independent, Y is dependent. How do I know if a relation will be a function?
If the X only has one number that it's grouping with.
Alright, if the X does not repeat itself. Can the Y repeat itself?
Yes.
Yes. So I know if it's a function or not. If I'm gonna write a function, what is the correct form to write a function rule?
Y equals
Y.
kx.
Yeah.
No, that's direct variation. We'll get to that. A function rule.
F of X.
F of X equals.
Oh.
Alright, that's my function rule. F of X equals. So if I have F of X equals 2x plus 1, alright, that would be my function rule. If I want to figure out what F of 3 is, they say X equals 3, alright, what will I do?
Rewrite with the X being the 3.
Alright, and my answer would be
7.
7. So this is the way I would look for my answer, not just the number 7. Okay, when they ask you to evaluate.
So you don't want both answers with the,
Well, usually they would say F of X equals 2x plus 1, X equals 3, evaluate. So you would just say F of 3 equals 7. Now if they ask you to write it in ordered pair, then yeah, you would put, my ordered pair would be what?
3, 7.
3, 7. But either one, if they ask for both, then you put both. If they ask just one, just write one. Okay? And lastly, direct variation. The general form for direct variation is
Y equals kx.
y equals kx. K is called the
Constant.
constant of variation. How do we normally find the k?
y divided by x.
Y divided by x, correct? How can I determine if a set of ordered pair is a direct variation function?
If it matches the Y equals KX, so,
Close. Say for instance, if I have how can I determine if this is a direct variation of function?
You can.
Is it, like the, like the, it's, I know it's 3, all of them go into 3, like.
So you're gonna divide all the y's by the x's.
Yeah.
So 3 divided by 1 is 3, 6 divided by 2 is 3, negative 12 divided by 4 is 3. So what is my k?
3.
3, and what is my function rule?
Y equals x. 3x.
Y equals 3x, or f of x equals 3x. Alright, is this the direct variation function?
Yeah.
Yes. So normally they'll ask you 3 questions. Is this a direct variation function? If it is, you say yes. What is the constant of variation? You tell me 3. What is the function rule? Then you'll tell me y equals 3x. Alright, so the best thing to do, go through the lessons, pick odd problems, try the odd problems, check your answers in the back, make sure you're doing it right. Go to the section review, look at the section review to review for your test tomorrow, okay?
thank you.
Alright, have a good night, and go over your quizzes. Questions on your quizzes will be very similar to questions on your test.
Thank you.
You're welcome.